This case was tried for the defense by Mark's daughter, Tenny Geragos, who, no matter what you think of Diddy, and the audience knows I'm not a fan, she crushed it, Mark. I mean, there's no question this was a huge defense verdict, even though he was convicted on the 2 lesser charges. But I mean, huge victory for the defense. So hats off to your daughter.
You know, what I can tell you is I sat and watched her opening statement, and I was in the kind of the back right in the where the family was. And all I could think of, I'll reminisce just a minute, was my father, who was also a homicide prosecutor, formerly like Matt, recovering when he was in partnership with me. And I was thinking he was one generation away from his mother escaping the Turks and the Armenian genocide. And here is his granddaughter giving this opening statement. So it was quite a moment to watch it. And you're right, she did crush it.
That's awesome. Honestly, good for her. I'm not one of those loons who can't separate the lawyer from the person. It's like, it doesn't mean any defense lawyer is endorsing a person or saying anything whatsoever about whether the person did the thing or didn't do the thing. We need defense lawyers to test the system and make sure guys like Matt have to cross all their T's and dot their I's before they put somebody behind bars. I'm sure Matt agrees. So let's talk about Diddy, because he really, really, really wanted bail, even though he had already been told you're not getting bail. But now he came back and said, but please, I really want bail. And he said, I'll agree to all these extraordinary conditions. 50 million bond, I would do that. He said, I'll do electronic monitoring. It's unusually dangerous in this detention center where I'm being held in Brooklyn. And other defendants who are convicted of my type of charges are usually released. I'm being held to a higher standard here, and said, you gotta let me out. And the judge said, goodbye. No. He said, I'm trying to find the exact quote here. Basically what he said was, you have acknowledged that you behaved badly in other ways here. You might have had traction with me in a case that did not involve evidence of violence, coercion, or subjugation in connection with the acts of prostitution at issue. But the record here contains evidence of all 3, Judge Subramanian said. So, Mark, I'll give you the first crack at whether the judge got that right.
I don't think he did, and I don't want to put my daughter in an uncomfortable situation, but I think from my standpoint, he was charged with counts that had mandatory minimums. He rolled the dice. He beat the RICO. He beat the 2 sex trafficking, which I think last I looked at, a mandatory minimum of 15 to life, each of them. And the RICO would have been, I mean, the old joke, your money or your life, that would have been all of his fortune. He beat both of those, and he got convicted of 2 Mann Acts. And so people understand the so-called victims of the Mann Act are rather strapping young males who crossed state lines. So if there was ever a ticky-tack foul, to quote the late, great Chick Hearn, that was it. And the judge has said, well, this falls under a chapter of the U.S. Code that makes this violent. Well, that may be the case, but His Honor also asked them to do a survey of every case. He wanted to see it prior to sentencing, before they even made this last bail application. And nobody found a case where anybody has been similarly situated, let alone prosecuted and detained. So do I think he got it right? No. Do I think there's too much deference given to the government? Yes, because the government is, frankly, and to my mind, are a bunch of sore losers. I mean, they came out on the day of the verdict, when they had lost spectacularly, said, we think it's 41 to 50 months. They now, in their response to this bail application, are saying we may ask for double that. I mean,
they want more.
Break. Yeah.
Matt, would you care to defend the government?
Not really on this one, Megyn.
Wow.
I can tell you, and the only thing I really disagree with on Mark on that is Diddy didn't beat the case. His daughter beat the case in the defense team. And I'm with you on that, Megyn. Once you separate out the emotion and everything that we saw Diddy do on that video with Cassie Ventura, he comes off pretty bad as an individual. It was his defense team that saved him. And from a purely mercenary point of view, they did an outstanding job. They really did. I think that the, what Diddy is going to deal with in this sentencing and also for this bail review is one of the things that nobody's talking about, Megyn, is we got to go back to when he was using other inmates' calling codes to call witnesses in the case, supposedly. And if you remember back during one of the very first bail hearings, he was doing that. And that is the type of thing, Mark's familiar with this, I'm sure you are too. There's an old adage you hear in law school. The second most powerful thing to God on earth is a federal judge. And that is a lot of judges will take a personal affront at that. And that's, I think, where he really screwed up. I think that when the prosecution came out and said he's looking at more time, so he poses a flight risk, it's just like, it makes me cringe. It's like, come on, guys, that's just dumb. Sorry, that's dumb. Where they hung their hat, or where they should have hung their hat, is danger just based on the fact that he is such a prolific domestic violence dude, and I'm sure he could keep it straight until sentencing. But it also indicates potentially he's looking at a custodial sentence beyond what Mark or I would call CTS, or credit time served. So it looks like the judge is probably planning on dinging him something. But I also, I agree with Mark. In federal sentencing, you can't have gross disparity between one case and another. And so the government's going to be lucky if they get 4 or 5 years, frankly, I think.
Jonna, what do you think of it?
I think Diddy is a dirtbag. And because the judge knows that, he is paying lip service to the law. I don't think this judge really believes that Diddy is a flight risk. I don't believe any of that. What this judge is doing, he's doing one of two things, in my opinion. He either is trying to punish Diddy because he knows that he's not really going to be able to throw the sentencing book at him, and that Diddy will get what is very close to credit for time served and walk very shortly after sentence. So this judge wants to inflict as much pain as he can beforehand. Or it's some sort of foreshadowing that this judge is going to be amenable to departing from the sentencing guidelines upwardly to really stick it to Diddy, because Diddy is not a likable guy. He's a misogynist. He's a woman beater. He's a horrible person. But yes, I agree that Mark's daughter did a good job. And this was a just verdict. I don't want to get hate mail for that, but it was.
Well,
it's not that the verdict couldn't be supported. It could be supported. I totally disagreed with it fully and completely, but it's not something you could say there was no rational basis for the jury to come to this. But he's still, does he have any remedy between now and the October sentencing, Mark, or is it done now? He's not getting bail. This is the final thing.
Well, he doesn't have a remedy with this judge. He does have a remedy with somebody else in the executive branch. So I think.
All right. Is it true? Yeah. Is he trying to persuade Trump to get a pardon?
Yeah, I think Trump's admitted. I just saw an interview in which not one but twice he's admitted that he's been the president has been talked to. I actually think this would be above my pay grade, but politically, I can see where this resonates with him, because you lived and I did many shows with you during the time Trump was being prosecuted both civilly and criminally in New York, which is reminiscent of what is happening with Diddy. He was accused of everything. They threw everything,
including RICO. Trump had a RICO case too.
Exactly. And by the way, Trump did not get, in my humble opinion, ever get a fair trial in New York. I thought that was preordained. I mean, he was the worst place in the world for him to have been tried was in New York, and it was an unfair prosecution from the get-go by prosecutors who had an agenda. He can see that same thing here. I mean, there was, this Emile Bove, who is now on the circuit, who was the one who had to trek down to New York on Mayor Adams' case to tell the judge in the Southern District, hey, set that aside, and talked about Damian Williams, the previous U.S. attorney who brought the case against Adams and against Diddy. They cited the fact that he put up Diddy and the mayor on his website when he left office, and that he was trying to curry favor to become the attorney general under Kamala. So there are some things that I think resonate with Trump, and I think he should commute the sentence, if not pardon him.
Oh my God. You're such an effective advocate. I'm so jarred by all of that.
But why are you so, look, I agree that I've known Sean for 15 years and he has
You always do this. You love all the worst people. You love the Menendez brothers. You love Scott Peterson. You never seen a client who did it.
Okay, that's a little ad hominem argument, but let's go back. Let's go back to what I'm saying.
Fair.
He has had his troubles. He has had his substance abuse. He is. If you go through all of the violent acts, they're almost always related to his substance abuse, almost exclusively. He has been on a cocktail of drugs, which is a story often told in Hollywood, which is where these people get they go up, they go down, they're just dispensed all kinds of stuff. He's now been in there for about a year and he's clean and sober, and he's a different person when he's clean and sober. And he's made some kind of amends. And, he did get Gina, who was victim number 3, to write a letter in support of him being released. So stop putting your head in your hands.
Gina's full of it. Gina needs his money. This is Gina. Here's Gina in 2019 talking about this wonderful man. Here she is giving an interview.
He had caught me texting another man. We was in Miami, and it got really crazy that time. We were in his closet, and he pushed me, and I fell to the ground, and then he stood over me. So I was laying on my back, and he stood over me, and he started punching me like this. He avoided my face, but he started punching me on the side of my head, and I was just covering my face. He stomped on my stomach really hard, and I took the wind out of my breath. I couldn't breathe, and he kept hitting me, and I was pleading to him can you stop? I can't breathe. And he stopped for a little bit. He grabbed my hair from the back and was punching the back of my head, because he was just avoiding my face when he was hitting me.
He's a real gentleman. That was on the Tasha K blogger show in June of 2019.
6 years later, she's writing a letter. He refused.
Now she's saying he's super sweet. But by the way, he was with Jane all the way up to the moment of his arrest, and her testimony was she was being abused up until that moment. It went on all the way, the physical abuse, the freak-offs, all of it. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, just hold on. The 12 New Yorkers heard all of this. They didn't hear Gina because
he didn't dispute the physical violence. He didn't even dispute it.
Right. He wasn't charged with it. Now
we're arguing about whether he's an asshole, and he is. The jury is back in.
That's exactly
but you're trying to tell us he's also warm and cuddly now that he's off the drugs. It was just the drug single tear. Bullshit. Okay. Matt, you've heard defense lawyers do this 1,000 times or more.
Hey, listen, not only, wait just, Megyn, not to cut you off, Mark. This is why I've known Mark for years. We go back decades together. This is why Mark is the first guy I'd probably call if I got in trouble, especially if I did it. You just witnessed it, America. That is Mark Geragos at his best.
Since President Trump was sworn in, his administration has made enormous progress at a breakneck pace. But don't forget, while they are moving mountains for the good of the nation, you've got your personal savings to worry about. And one of the best ways to look after your savings is through diversification, particularly with gold, like from Birch Gold Group. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has increased by 40%. And Birch was an advertiser on this show 12 months ago. If you had purchased then, you'd be 40% richer today. Now's the time. Central banks continue to bolster demand for gold by burying in record quantities. Global instability and tension is high, and Birch Gold makes owning physical gold so easy. Easily convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or buy some to store in your home safe. Just text MK to the number 989898, and Birch Gold is going to send you a free info kit on gold. Look into it, see if it's right for you. There's no obligation, just useful information to help you make a decision. With an A+ rating, with a Better Business Bureau, and tens of thousands of happy customers, take control of your savings today. Text MK to 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.